Hi guys, welcome back and welcome to another video. I'm going to do a battle of the brands and I'm going to talk about blending sponges. Okay, that was underwhelming. So I was really excited to do this video because I know how expensive the Beauty Blender is. The Beauty Blender is just a very revolutionary, innovative product in the makeup industry. It really changed the usual makeup techniques that you would see on non-professional makeup artists because one, it just made blending so much easier, like flawlessly blended foundation and even cream contour, concealer, etc. without using brushes, because brushes, when done maybe incorrectly or just with less skill, they can come out looking really cakey or streaky. But with the Beauty Blender, it's just like virtually no skill required, but you can get your foundation to look flawless. Even if you pile it on, it shears it out and just gives you the most flawless finish because of the way it deposits product onto your skin. How the Beauty Blender works is that its structure is what they call an open cell structure, where the cells of the sponge absorb water and it saturates the Beauty Blender with water. Just squeeze out the excess water and it retains its shape when damp. The product, the foundation, concealer, or whatever, just sits on top of the sponge, but as you bounce it on your skin, the motion displaces the product on the blender and it deposits it onto your skin, so you just end up with a flawless finish. Since then, a lot of companies have come up with their own versions of the sponge. Out of all the brands that have come out with their Beauty Blender dupes, so to say, the most popular brand that has come really close to the Beauty Blender is the one by Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and they say this is the one that comes closest to the Beauty Blender in terms of quality. But actually right now there are more sponges and more brands that have come out with sponges that are almost exactly like the Beauty Blender, but the problem is we don't get them in the Philippines. These are, I think, pure Ofra. I mean, there's Ofra here in the Philippines, but I don't see the sponge. I forgot what else, but there are other latex free sponges, etc. that are in the market that they say are almost as good as the Beauty Blender, but just in terms of the most widely available and inexpensive dupe, it is the Real Techniques sponge. However, the Real Techniques sponge is so hard to get here in the Philippines. It's almost always sold out in SM Beauty. And online, there are a lot of sellers online, but you just can't be sure that they're authentic. But you know, you take what you get and they're usually authentic. Just you can gauge depending on the price, how the product looks, and of course the reputation of the seller. But it's just a bit of, no, not a bit of, it's a lot of a hassle to get the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. So I went into this really looking for the sponge that would be super accessible, inexpensive, and just deliver, if not as good, but just as close to the Beauty Blender as possible. I think it has been more than a month since I started really hoarding blending sponges, just buying what I saw in the drugstore, in other brands, basically as long as it was cheap. My version of cheap is maybe around 300 pesos or slightly more, because I know the Real Techniques usually costs 400, while the Beauty Blender costs 1,000 pesos, so that's $8 versus $20. So the brands that I collected were, this is not in any order yet, okay? Real Techniques, Miniso, these are all wet by the way, BYS, EB Advance, and the Beauty Buffet Blending Sponge. Of course, this is the original Beauty Blender. So these are 6 sponges, including the original Beauty Blender. Let me just get right to it. The worst sponge out of them all was the Beauty Buffet sponge. I didn't even bother to wet this anymore to show you because how it looks dry is exactly how it looks wet. It barely absorbs any water. It just stays as it is. It's super firm. It's like really hard. to the point that it hurts your skin when you tap it on your skin, when you bounce it on your skin. Like, I almost couldn't bounce it on my skin because it just hurt my bones. It literally hurts your bones. It's just a terrible product, and you know how much it cost? It cost like $335, and it's crap. It's a crap product. Like, don't get it, don't buy it. It's just terrible. Like, just save your money, buy something else with your money. So that's the worst performing. Aside from the Beauty Buffet, the rest of them actually performed not as bad, like nowhere near as bad as the Beauty Buffet. I would say that out of the 4, you can get any one of them and you would be satisfied at the very least of how it will blend your foundation. With that said, the worst out of the 4, but doesn't mean that it really performed terrible, is the EB Advanced Blend Me Sponge. Actually, this isn't the size that is the same with the Beauty Blender. This is the one in between the mini and the regular size. But I don't think that it will affect my judgment because they are made of entirely the same material. You're just getting a different size. But actually, I really like this size more than the regular size because it can work perfect for both under eye work and contouring work. Just using the regular sized beauty blender and get too big for small faces like mine. But if you have like a bigger face or a rounder face or whatever, maybe you would like to get the bigger size. This was only 150 pesos. That's $3. It's nowhere near as terrible as the Beauty Buffet one. Like, it actually really blends the foundation, but it's just a bit too firm for my taste because I can get really heavy-handed with a blender because one of the things you need to do with a blender is really push it into your skin, especially if you're layering, so that the layers really mold into your skin. And if I do that with this, it can hurt a bit. So that's the reason that I didn't like it as much. It's just not the best quality. Next is the Miniso blending sponge. Now this came third because you see how much water it absorbed. Oh my god, the first time that I used this, I was laughing so hard at how big it got. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's softer than the EB Advance, and my main problem with this is really the size. It's just so big that I can barely use it on my face anymore. If I just use this portion, the upper portion, it can blend foundation really well, but the rest of it just serves as a grip. So I mean, if that's how it's supposed to work, then fine. But this came in third because it just absorbed so much water and it gets really soft when it expands. So it's really cute, and at 99 pesos you already get 2. But it's just that the shape, the size is just too big for my taste. But if you have a rounder face or a bigger face, you would probably find this useful. And if you just need something for 100 pesos, I mean, you can't go wrong with 99 pesos. It's worth the 100 pesos that I spent on it. So we're just down to 2 sponges. That's the Real Techniques one and the BYS one. And you know what? I would give second place to the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Yes, now this isn't clickbait. It's not to make my video go viral or whatever. It's really my honest opinion that this comes second to the BYS blending sponge for a number of reasons. One is the shape, because I just love the shape of the Beauty Blender. I love that it doesn't have any edges. I love that it has a pointed tip and this edge is a round edge so that it's really seamless, and it's kind of when you use a tapered brush, like it will deposit the most product on the one that comes closest to the skin, and then because there's less pressure on like the edges of the sphere, it will shear out the edges of where it deposits the product, and it just looks beautiful. The shape of the BYS blending sponge just comes so close to the shape of the Beauty Blender, even if it has kind of a flatter edge here. But if you use this side, like, you get the same effect. So that's one factor. Okay, next, for the Real Techniques Complexion Sponge, I just find that it absorbs more product than the BYS sponge because I didn't wash this after I used it so that I could see how much product it absorbed, and the product is just concentrated on this area here, while in the Real Technique sponge it absorbed this much product here. I used the same foundation, I used the same moisturizer, so don't no, it's not me, it's the sponge. This only costs 299 pesos or $6, and it just performed really well. It even has a mini. I actually first got the mini size, and it just blends concealer so well, so beautifully, especially under the eyes, that when I first got it, I just thought, oh my god, if this is that good, then maybe the regular sized one is also that good. And I really wasn't disappointed. It was just so good. And if you watched my previous video, I actually used this sponge there, and if you watch it, you notice that it was the first time that I used it, and when I blended my foundation, I said, oh whoa. I said that because I was so impressed by how the product blended my foundation. Even then, I was so impressed by it, and I just thought, wow, this is just a really good sponge for only 300 pesos. So obviously, the winner is the BYS blending sponge. And if you're looking for a Beautyblender dupe, or if you're just in search of your first blending sponge and you don't want to splash the cash at 1,000 pesos or $20, I highly recommend the BYS blending sponge. Trust girl, trust. Get it and tell me if you don't like it. If you don't like it, well, boo-hoo. No, sorry. I mean, if you don't like it, well, then I'm sorry, but it's my honest opinion, and I love this. My beauty blender is a year old. Yes, it's a year old, but I'm telling you, it looks really good. It's not dirty. It's only started to get holes maybe this month, so I'm replacing it. And am I gonna buy a new beauty blender? No, I'm not gonna buy a new beauty blender. I can't afford it. I don't think it's worth it anymore. Once I need to buy another one, I'm definitely gonna buy a new BYS blending sponge when that time comes. So, I'm giving you my word. I really like this sponge, and I think it's just as good, if not better, than the Real Techniques one. So, that's it. That's my video. I hope you liked it. Please click the thumbs up down below if you like this video, and also subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!